This evening brings many people together, fully aligned with one common mission and vision.
Every local event is an opportunity to celebrate survivors, to remember those who have been lost to cancer, and to recommit ourselves to the fight against cancer.
As a cancer survivor, I feel that Light the Night is very important. This event truly gives survivors hope.
When you see these survivors doing this walk, it shows you why you're here and why you need to continue to do better to find that next cure.
Well, here we are again, another day, fighting machines.
This isn't the Matrix Resurrections yet, it's Transformers.
And I'm not Neo, I'm John Wick. Wiki.
Uh-huh. And you know what I don't understand? How come with all these advancements in technology, the customer and employee experience are still
Just rusty, I guess. I think our next guests know a little bit about that, Kara. It's called leadership. So, let's hear from Dave Anderson and John Fitzpatrick to kick off day 2 of Transformers.
Well, Ted, last time we welcomed Dave Anderson to our program, the chat just blew up, and the 2-day podcast episode of The Forecast has been downloaded almost 50 times, and he has a new book out.
You know, no better time than right now to welcome back Dave Anderson, the president of Learn to Lead, with our keynote today. Dave, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's great to be back with you.
You know, so much has happened this year, so many unexpected things in our industry after a tumultuous 2020. So, you know, our dealers, our audience is very resilient. What do you think?
Oh, extremely resilient. And I think it's caught a lot of us by surprise in a good way. There are certainly challenges that come with it. And, you know, I think we have to play the hand we're dealt right now very, very well, because what we do now really is going to set us up either in a good or a bad way come next year.
I agree with you completely. So, Dave, welcome back. The show is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to talk about a topic, how to survive success. This is a presentation I have been doing by request, really coast to coast since January. I've been traveling a lot again. And it sounds odd when you first talk about how to survive success. But if you think about it, a lot of people can't. I mean, as wonderful as prosperity is, prosperity brings some pitfalls with it. Prosperity, as it rises, urgency can fall. As prosperity rises, the work ethic can even diminish. As prosperity rises, our focus can get scattered. And when I'm talking about surviving success, I'm really talking about abandoning key disciplines, key habits that helped us position ourselves to capitalize on this market in the first place. See, a lot of celebrating going on right now, a lot of records being set, and I think that's fantastic. But we also have to keep things in perspective. It's a real mistake to mistake a bull market for brains or for ability. Certainly, we've done a lot of good things over a long period of time that have positioned us to truly capitalize on the market we have. But, you know, we're getting some help. And so we have to understand that no season lasts forever. We'd like it to, and unless it's a bad season, then we're happy for that principle that no season lasts forever. But things change. And I see right now in my travels, a lot of dealerships getting away from things like training their people, focusing more on daily execution, holding people accountable, forget about it. It's not even happening in many of the places I'm looking at right now because it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. Overall, the numbers are really good. Why rock the boat? I can't find anybody to replace them anyway. And we have all these excuses, and we've abandoned all these key things that are really setting us up for some problems. Now, it's not shown up yet, The thing about getting off track is there is a grace period. When you get off track, there is not an immediate consequence. You cannot hold somebody accountable today. The bottom does not fall out of your department tomorrow. You can skip a couple training meetings and people just don't lose their productivity overnight. But if we persist in that nonsense, those consequences will show up over time. And you think about who has the most urgency, the most focus, the most intensity. It's not usually the person that's doing well, it's the person that's struggling. Give you an example. Who has more urgency? The gentleman that is standing up at the top of the mountain looking at all they've conquered this year, or the fellow that's drowning? He's gone down twice already. He's gasping for air. Eyes are bulging out of his face. He's about to die. Now, which person has more urgency? It's not the guy at the top of the mountain enjoying the view. Okay, that gentleman needs to be looking for a higher mountain is what he needs to be doing, but that's really not what's going on right now. We're just trying to hold our ground at the top of the mountain. The fellow that's drowning is laser focused. He's willing to change. It may be too late. He'll take a risk. He'll take a shot. But when all the seas appear calm, we can get complacent. Now, I'll tell you, complacency is one of those very misunderstood words. People think it means lazy, and they don't consider themselves lazy, so they never consider themselves as complacent, but that's not what it means. It means calmly content, smugly self-satisfied. Now, that's a definition worth memorizing, so it's easier to identify in yourself and others. Calmly content, smugly self-satisfied. Says nothing to do with how many hours you're working. You can work 80 hours a week, never take a day off, and still be so calmly content with your results right now, you're not training people. You're not coaching them. You're not holding them accountable. And so we have to understand that it's the successful people, and there are a lot of us right now, that are most prone to complacency. So first, it's about awareness. If we're going to survive success, we first have to be aware of the pitfalls. We can't deny reality. I'll tell you, you can deny reality if you like, but you won't be able to deny the consequences of that reality. They will eventually catch up with you. And our biggest vulnerability in business and in life is the one we're unaware of. So first, we have to be aware of it. And we have to get back, if we have strayed, to those key basic disciplines that positioned ourselves for this success in the first place. I always like to say it's better to build a fence at the top of the mountain than a hospital at the bottom. And so let's start doing more of the right things while we're up there. The fact is, people think it's easy to lead in good times. I'm telling you, it's difficult to lead in good times. It's easy to lead in a crisis. Think about that. It's easy to lead in a crisis. Why? Because you've got people's attention. They're willing to rally around. What do we need to do? I'll do my part. Let's all bond together. People unite in a crisis. They step up in a crisis. They get focused in a crisis. But when all the seas appear calm, that intensity can go away. And so, the greatest tests come not in adversity, but in prosperity. Adversity motivates us to discipline to end our adversity. Prosperity can cause us to trust in our prosperity and abandon the very disciplines that positioned us to be prosperous in the first place. So this is real. It's going on right now. I'm seeing guards being let down, accountability being abandoned, training becoming inconsistent. I see us putting up with behaviors from people right now we would never put up with in a downturn or in a recession. And we've got so much margin for error right now, we're getting away with it. But that's changing. And the market will be changing and has been changing. And so we have to prepare now. So what do we do? What do we do? First, we accept the awareness. We accept the reality if you buy into it. And then we need to get back to some basics. The first thing I think is extremely important, and it's almost unnatural, because we love looking at the scoreboard. We love looking at the numbers. Where are we? Have we hit the next record yet? How much did we make? It's very natural to confuse the scoreboard for the game. But the first thing we have to do is get back in the game. And I'm talking about execution. We've got to be aware of, but not obsessed by outcomes. We've got to lose our obsession with outcomes right now. Now, the reason I say that's unnatural is because we get paid on outcomes, right? We get measured by outcomes. And the outcomes have been pretty darn good. When you're looking at the outcomes and we see this record and another record and we're doing more with less and we're seeing profits soar. And so it's easy to get hung up on that. But if you're looking too much at the scoreboard, you're taking your eye off the game. We've got to get back into execution, executing the next one right thing now. That has to be the mindset of everyone within our departments, right? If you want to become obsessed with something, you look up the definition of success. It talks about to be continually preoccupied with something. Well, right now, people are continually preoccupied with outcomes. We need to be continually preoccupied with reevaluating our ability to execute the next one right thing now on the service drive, in the base, in every aspect of our department. Now, here's what we have to take a serious look at. I'm talking about activities. I'm talking about becoming obsessed with activities. And first, we have to reevaluate. Have we clearly identified, have we kept relevant the handful of key activities that are non-negotiable in each of our positions within the leadership? Because they have changed throughout the year. So we don't want somebody doing the low return things well and doing the low return things often. That's a foolish consistency. First, we have to reevaluate what are the key handful of activities that are absolutely non-negotiable. I wrote a book and I called these MAX-X, the maximum activities. They're not the 40 things you've got to do every day. They're not the 14 things you've got to do every day. You may have to do 14, you may have to do 40, but these are the 3 or 4 that if you were only allowed to do 3 or 4 things, maximum of 4 things that day to create a result most predictive, the activities that are most predictive of creating the result you're getting paid to do, what are those things? That's how you figure out what the MAX-X are. If John could only do 4 things today that were most predictive of creating the result we're paying him for, what would they be? If Sue could only do 4 things today that are most predictive of creating the result we're paying her to create, what would they be? First, we have to reevaluate, are we doing enough of the right things? Do we even know what the right things are right now? You know, in military terms, it doesn't do you a lot of good to bomb the wrong target. And you can hit the wrong target over and over again and say, look how good we are. Look how consistent we are. We never miss the target. But if it's the wrong target, if it's a low return target, you're not going to get to where you want to go. So I suggest to get back in the game, we reevaluate what are the MAX-X for each of our departments. And you may have people in the same position, 2 different technicians at 2 different levels, they have 2 totally different set of MAX-X. Okay, this one's been there a long time. They really specialize in this. They're going to get a higher return from this than this new person who's still learning their way around, the shop. And so we have to make sure we're customizing the MAX-X to fit the person. And I'll tell you, many of you know I work with some athletic teams as well, and I have for a few years, and with some individual athletes. And one thing that I think coaches in sports do better than we do in general, there's some things we do better than they do, believe me. But one thing I think they do better is they do a much better job of customizing a game plan to fit each individual to bring the most out of that individual. And we need to get back to that right now. We need to make sure that everybody that we have on our team knows what the most important things are, has been trained to execute them, is held accountable for executing them every single day. Let me pause there for a moment. The beauty of becoming obsessed with activities is there's daily accountability. If you're obsessed with outcomes, you might hold them accountable once a month. Maybe not even that now, because the outcome didn't turn out. But when you're focused on activities, there's going to be more daily accountability for doing the right things. And if people get off track, we can nudge them back on track faster. We've got to get better at customizing the plan to fit each individual. We take the easy way out. We have a one-size-fits-all set of expectations that we throw out there too often and expect them to affect and impact everybody the same way. I mean, if you think about the normal college basketball coach, he's got 15 people on that team. He can't fire anybody. He can't make trades. I mean, there's certain times when he can go out and recruit and maybe some players enter the transfer portal. But when that season starts, that's the hand he's got to play. So he's got to bring the best out of those people. And we've got to develop the same mindset, the MAX-X for each person. And then teach them how to do them better. We've got to get back to training. People have gotten away from training right now. They've gotten away from training and training consistently and training really for excellence. See, a lot of us are doing the right things. We're not doing them well enough. I think one of the best ways to improve your result is not necessarily to change what you're doing. Take a look at the things you're doing that you know work and train people how to do them better. It's not always about doing something new that gets you from here to there. You've heard me say before, what gets you here won't get you there. You know, you don't drive an 18-wheeler the same way you drive a Chevy Volt. And so a lot of times we think, well, what gets us from here to there is something totally new. No, not necessarily. It may be taking the things you're already doing and doing them better, doing them with greater excellence, better phone calls, better walkarounds, presenting the menu in a better way, whatever your key disciplines are. That's where we start. That's the low-hanging fruit. And so what are the key activities? Let's get back in the game. Are they clear? And if you're not sure if they're clear or not, for each person on your team, let me help you out. They're not. Okay, so if you're not sure, that's an indication they're not. Customize that game plan for each person. Stop talking so much about outcomes. Talk more about activities. You see, people's focus will go to what we talk about. And when I'm asking somebody how many hours you got, what have you got out for the month, and I keep talking in terms of outcomes, I'm focusing them on outcomes and I'm taking them out of the game. Talk more about activities. Make sure they know what they are, they've been trained to do them, and that we're holding them accountable for doing them every single day. This is blocking and tackling, and we've got to get back to the consistent, effective blocking and tackling. We've gotten away from it in so many areas. Prosperity has allowed us to. Prosperity has allowed us to, and it will eventually catch up with us. The grace period does run out. And so we want to get back to execution. How do we do that? It's all about activities. Become obsessed with activities, because the activities create the outcomes, and evaluate them from time to time. As things change, the most important activities may change. Do people know what they are? Do they know how to do them with excellence? Are we continuing to train on them? Are they held accountable for doing them every single day? And by the way, holding somebody accountable, it doesn't mean there has to be some drastic consequence if they don't do it, but you at least need to have a conversation with them. The most effective consequence to have with an employee is feedback. It's a conversation. It's not write-ups and suspensions and terminations. These things may be necessary eventually, but just having conversations with people fixes so much of this stuff if you know how to have the conversation, letting them know it matters, letting them know what they fell short, restating what you expect and how to do it. We've got to start giving more of those conversations instead of pretending that execution isn't happening. It will eventually catch up with us. And so let's get obsessed with the game again, not the scoreboard. Let's have more activity conversations with people. You know, let's talk more about what their next one right thing is. And as leaders, you got to come in every day knowing what yours are. I review mine every morning. Part of my morning mindset routine before I leave the house, I'm reviewing what I call my big four. Those are my max acts. And they may change from day to day. I get my mindset right before I walk out the door and get in this Los Angeles traffic. Let me just tell you that. I want my mindset locked in so when I get to work, I know what to attack. Now, they may change during the day, but I've got to know where to start. I see too many leaders walking in like a game show host, eating donuts and drinking coffee, walking around the place making small talk. They don't have a clue what the most important thing is. They're waiting for something to happen so they can respond or react to it. We've got to go in that attack mode, right? A lot of us have gotten out of that attack mode right now. We're just managing all the business we have, and we become more of the bag than the boxer. We got to set the pace, set the tone, be the boxer, not the bag. Come in every day knowing what your big three, big four are, right? So it all goes back to that type of clarity. And then let me build on what I mentioned just a moment ago. Remember when I said what gets you here won't get you there? And very often we think it's something different that will have to get us from here to there, and not necessarily. I said, take what already works, think about your best, most effective disciplines, and train people to do them better. I call this the better, more often strategy. This is the low-hanging fruit for improving your productivity with the same people doing the same things, only doing them better, and then once they're doing them better, doing more of it. And then once they're doing more of it, doing it more often, greater consistency. We've got to embrace the better, more often. If people are making phone calls, they can get better at it. If they're setting appointments, they can get better at it. My guess is they have not arrived. There is room to improve. And now, once they're better at it, I want them doing more of it. Now, I don't want them doing, if they're doing a miserable job, I don't want them doing more of it. That's why we start with better. We get them better, then we do more. And then we want to see it being done more often. And you know what I'm a big believer in? I believe in when people feel like they're doing a better job with something, they're more likely to do it more often. I think a lot of times if they don't feel they're good enough, if they don't have confidence in what they're doing, that's when they duck it. That's when they become inconsistent. But as we get them better, they'll want to do more of it, and they'll want to do it more often because they'll see the result it brings them. Now, another thing that helps with that accountability, that helps with your consistency, is accountability. The number one way to help people become more consistent is to hold them more accountable. People do what they're held accountable for. And having those accountability conversations, so many leaders gotten away from accountability right now. Go back to what I said in my opening remarks. Doesn't seem as necessary. What's all the fuss about? Why rock the boat? We're on a roll. Let's just keep going. I'll tell you what all the fuss is about, because it's not going to last forever. And the holes and cracks you're letting develop in your culture during the good times are going to come back to haunt you when the market changes. And so we want to have accountability conversations. Some people are not very good at holding people accountable, so they don't do it. Every time they do it, they make a mess of it. The best thing you can remember about accountability is to remember what I've just said the last 2 or 3 times. Have conversations with somebody. Don't whip out your big bad accountability voice. Don't get high and mighty. Don't read off their rap sheet of the last 10 offenses they committed, and all that does is take their focus off the one you're trying to fix now. Have a conversation. They're easy to listen to. They're more likely to get through. They're more respectful. People will respond better to it. And so getting back in the game really is all about identifying the key activities for each person. Be like that football coach, that basketball coach that's got to bring the best out of each player. Get more specific as to what successful activities look like for that person every day. And then make sure we're doing them better, more of them and more often, and that we're holding them accountable. This gets us in the game. Having more of those activity-based conversations. Now, something else we need to take a strong look at, and that's auditing our daily habits. Good times breed bad habits. Good times breed bad habits. When do you form good habits? When you're in trouble, when your back's against the wall. It's like, oh man, I got to get my act together. I have got to get my act together. I need to, there's no more margin for error. That's when we usually start to get our habits back where they should be. But when things are coming easier to us, and I'm not saying easy as in you're not working hard. I'm saying easy as in we're maybe not doing some of the hard stuff we used to do. We're just managing all the good stuff that's coming in. We can get away from some of those key habits. And I've already mentioned a bunch of them, like training, like planning your day, like having accountability conversations with people, like redefining clarity, like having one-on-one coaching sessions with your people to help develop them to their potential. These are key habits that we often ignore when they don't seem as necessary. A habit is simply a behavior you repeat often enough to where it becomes automatic. So some of us, we had some really good habits, and the prosperity got us away from them. And so it's no longer a habit. Some of us have some habits we got to get back to. Some of us may have had some bad habits that developed. Okay, just some things that we started doing them often enough to where we're not even thinking about doing them now. It's not productive. It's making it harder to get to where we want to go, right? It's causing us not to grow and our team not to grow. And we've been able to get away with it because of this prosperity that we've had. So some of us need to get back to some habits that we once had. Maybe we need to start some that we haven't had, like customizing that game plan to fit each of your people, and to get rid of some of these habits that you can get away with for a while when you've got a larger margin for error that will catch up with you. Your habits are going to take you somewhere. Our habits always take us somewhere. Where they take us depends on what the habit is. And so we need to audit them. Okay, what disciplines have I gotten away from? It could be personal growth. I know a lot of leaders, when business gets good, they stop reading books. They stop taking courses. They stop attending training themselves. Not only are they not training their people, they're not attending training themselves. And they get that, okay, we're doing really well. Why do I need another book or another training course? Well, here's why. Because intellectual capital depreciates. It depreciates. You've got to stay relevant. You've got to stay sharp. You've got to stay on track. And so maybe you've gotten away from some of those things that at one time helped you get to where you are today. And so you take a look at this. You take a look at, are we obsessed with outcomes? How can we shift that? Let's get back in the game. First of all, I've got to have an awareness that I am vulnerable, that there are some holes maybe and cracks that have developed in my culture during these prosperous times. I've got to understand that prosperity has pitfalls. Maybe we don't have the unity and the urgency and so forth that we once did. After that, I've got to take a look at, let's shift our focus away from what's the next record, or how close can we get to the next record, or I don't want to miss last month by too much. Let's take our focus off of that and get it back in the trenches. You know, if you watch football, you know most touchdowns are not the exciting ones to watch. They're not razzle-dazzle, 80-yard, double reverse, flea flicker touchdowns. It's 3 yards and a cloud of dust, 4 yards and a cloud of dust. 3 more yards and a cloud of dust. Move the chains. And we've got to get back to that basic blocking and tackling, identifying those activities, training people to do them, holding them accountable every day, keeping them relevant throughout the process, having accountability conversations. And one other thing I want to throw out there is to be aware how decline works, because some of my clients right now, as I have traveled around, I have found, because they're not doing these things, because they've gotten away from some of the right habits, they've abandoned some of the key disciplines. They haven't done it intentionally. They don't wake up one day and say, you know what, I'm going to get away from all the stuff that made us successful. It happens gradually over time. They get nudged off track. Most people are not shoved off track. They just wander off track or get nudged off track. And so it's not about fall, it's about fixing it. And one thing we have to understand about decline is that it is subtle. If you look up the definition of decline, it does not say to plunge. If it were a plunge, you'd feel it. It is to slope downward. Now you think about that. The danger in decline is its subtlety. It's so gradual, you don't even feel it. And I'm going to say something that's going to sound a little weird, so hang in there with me. I think a lot of dealers right now are setting record months while at the same time they are in decline. They are abandoning key disciplines that are causing them to slope downward. They haven't noticed it yet because there's still so much momentum. The numbers are so good. There's so much in the pipeline that is perfuming the stench of their neglect. And so they are declining slowly sloping downward, making poor decisions, abandoning key disciplines while the numbers are still good and they don't even realize it. And then one day you wake up, it's like, man, things aren't like they used to be. We're in a bit of a rut. Well, remember this about ruts, folks. When you find yourself in a rut, it's not the result of something you did last night. It is a series of bad decisions and failed disciplines that you've sown over time that finally caught up with you. Let's stay out of those ruts. If we're off track, let's correct the course. You're probably still in the grace period. You probably still have good numbers. Let's correct it in the grace period. Let's build the fence at the top of that mountain and look for that higher mountain rather than doing damage control because we stayed off track and having to build a hospital at the bottom of it. As leaders, you know, everyone else is going to follow your focus. They're going to follow your pace. They're going to follow your speed. So when you become obsessed with activities, when you become obsessed with accountability, when you become obsessed with having conversations that are meaningful and that focus everybody on doing the next one right thing now, that will filter out throughout your entire department. And those numbers are going to take care of themselves. You take care of the activities, the numbers take care of themselves. And if there is a downturn, you will have positioned yourself so strongly by not letting your foundation develop these cracks and holes that you will still get far more than your share.
Dave, I took a lot of notes as I did last time you were at the event. And I think you're so right that the time to address these things is during what you call the grace period, because that decline doesn't happen. It's not a plunge. It's a slow downward trip, and the time to do it is now. A lot of our dealers and managers know who Dave Anderson is because they've attended your classes, read your books, they've seen you online. But I think there's an audience here at the Fixed Ops events with our Fixed Ops service managers, parts managers, body shop, who are hearing you now for the first time or one of the first times. How can we get more? How can our audience learn more about Dave Anderson and get in touch with you and find out what you do?
I appreciate it, Ted. Best thing is to go to our website, which is learn2lead, spell it out just like it sounds.com. All of our resources are there. We have a really cool place there called the Insider Club. It's free to join. It takes about 20 seconds. And you'll have access to free articles, free videos, things that will help you get better. And then if you want more, you can find out how to get more than that at the website. But go to the Insider Club at Learn to Lead. We've had that for 22 years. We've been doing this for 22 years, and that'll get you off on the right foot.
Dave, great stuff. Thank you so much on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Dave Anderson here today at the Fixed Ops Transformers event.
Thank you, Dave, and congratulations on the success of Intentional Mindset. It's a great book.
I appreciate that. We're very fortunate. Book Authority just named it as the number 4 top personal development book of 2021. So we're very grateful for that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Hey, folks, we're just getting started on day 2 of Transformers right here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Ted, our next guest is a force to be reckoned with and a true industry transformer.
That's right. Gene, I'd like to welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable Transformers, John W. Fitzpatrick of Force Marketing. John, welcome to the event.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You know, Gene is exactly right. You are a force to be reckoned with. You're doing great work throughout the industry. And I want to congratulate you on the announcement I saw earlier this year about GSM now joining the Force Marketing, being its own brand. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And while I also appreciate you telling me that I'm a force to be reckoned with, I got to stop you and say we have 100 of some of the most talented marketing professionals in automotive that make me look really, really good across our family of brands. And so I've got to extend my gratitude, but also that recognition to them because they're fantastic at what they do. And that's why I'm able to come on and share all the great stories about how we're helping dealers all over the country.
You're into a whole lot of dealers and now with GSM, and you know, that's a very recognizable brand in the fixed ops community throughout service and parts and body shop. So, you know, I want to, you know, dial in on that today and some of the things that you're doing there for dealers and, you know, talk a little bit more with you about that.
Yeah, happy to.
Let's start with a little bit about GSM and what you do currently in the industry and you know, how you help dealers.
Sure. So for the last 16 years, we've been building Force Marketing focused on measurable mediums where you can put an ad dollar to play and see a return on investment with a data-driven approach. We've built out our own technology tool that acts as a customer data platform, a CDP, that dials into a dealer's first-party data in their DMS and their CRM and makes that data actionable through having many one-to-one communications through an omni-channel experience for their clients. And so that's really how we built the business. We built it focused on the variable ops side. And every great client we had, Ted, that sort of was really diving into our tech and diving into our solutions, the very first thing that across the board, they would ask us is, can you help me on the fixed ops side of my business? And the answer was always yes. But what we weren't able to do until the acquisition of GSM was help them at scale. We couldn't go to our 1,200 dealer partners and help all of them with fixed ops. With GSM as now a part of our family of brands at Force Marketing, we now can. And so for the last 7 months, we've been integrating our technology, the technology that we acquired at GSM, as well as the one we had built at Force Marketing and our related brands, and brought those technology sets together, brought those data sets together, brought institutional know-how and expertise together, and really rounded out a full front to back end solution for dealers to help them more personalize their communication, which is their marketing, to their clients, both on the prospective side, new clients they want to earn in, as well as keeping that customer hopefully for life in the fixed ops and the service side, because we know the stat's still alive and well, that if a dealer sells you a car and also earns your service business, that you're 7 times more likely to buy your second car from that dealer because they've earned your service business. And so stats like that, we really honed in on and said, how can we better our offering to our clients at scale? And GSM was the perfect fit for that.
In the last year or two, we've seen a great awakening in the dealer body on fixed ops and the importance of having a consistent message there. You are actually, I didn't know until recently, more of a technology company. Some of the things that you mentioned just now, speak to us about that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And so as we were growing the business, one of the things we recognized in being a data-first company from the beginning, and treating every dollar that we got to use on behalf of our dealer partners as our own. And so we said, hey, look, we want to only spend the dollars where you see a return on investment. And that really forced us, no pun intended there, to really understand the dealer's DMS and CRM and how valuable that first party data is. It also forced us to sort of align ourselves properly with all of the third party data sets that you can go and acquire by buying into different data sets from Carfax or IHS or many other data providers that can give you really great, rich data on different audience sets. And now we know Google and Facebook and streaming media also provide data sets similar to that. And so it really, what we were finding was every time we would land a dealer group, we had to go sort of hire 2 to 5 new people to work on that group. And that was just not scalable. We had to have technology at scale that could break down the vast data sets that we were bringing into the business to put together a really well thought out strategy and communication channel for marketing for our partners. And technology was just an important step for us. And so we scoured the earth to look for somebody that had already built one that maybe we could build on top of, and it just didn't exist. And so 6 years ago, we started building Helix Technologies to be a customer data platform, a CDP. And you've heard a lot about this in recent times. If anybody that's paid attention to the technology space, data is the new oil. We all definitely believe that. But you got to be able to use that data and use it at scale. And what I mean by scale is digesting, cleaning. A lot of data sets have a various degree of dirtiness, if you will, whether it's 5% of the data or 50% of the data. And there's nothing worse than putting ad dollars to play with dirty data. Talk about wasting ad dollars, right? So the system is able to digest a lot of different data sets, clean the data, segment out the audiences. So an audience is, for example, and for this conversation, sold but never serviced, or serviced but never sold. Those are 2 data sets that live inside of a DMS. And we want to go after all of the different audience sets that our system is able to segment out with relevant, personalized communication across an omni-channel space. So we know that consumers are not only going to Facebook or only going to Google. They spend 15 hours, JD Powers tells us, across 72 or more days researching and finding out where the best place to trade their vehicle in or to service their vehicle, and before they make that decision. And this engine allows us to do all of that at scale in a very personalized way. And the return on investment is just about as clear as day.
That makes a lot of sense. So if I'm a dealer right now in our current environment, in our current marketplace, and there's a lot of things happening, on both the new car and on the used vehicle side as well, and we've had a chip shortage. We've gone through a whole number of things in this past 18 months. What do I need to be focused on right now with my advertising and marketing dollars? And, how can you help our dealer body do a better job?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, and I was just on CBT News with Bob Lanham, who's the head of retail.
That was a great segment with Bob Lanham from Facebook. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And he and I are aligned on this concept, and we're trying to scream it from the rooftops. And quite honestly, we have been for a little bit, but right now is the time because of the inventory challenges, because of this question of I have ad dollars put aside, but I don't have inventory. What do I do?
Right.
We believe now's the right time to really lean in on understanding what the lifetime customer value is to your business. Bringing front to back together, bringing maybe pay plans together, maybe processes together, and looking at every single car buyer as also someone that will service and also someone that will come back and buy again. And we're seeing right now in the M&A markets in auto, we're seeing auto groups get bigger. We're seeing the 1 and 2 store groups go away, sell out. We're seeing the 10 store groups become 20, the 20 become 30. And of course, the Lithias of the world, add 100 or 200 more stores. But in my opinion, where we're really seeing the growth are those mid-market 10 to 40 store groups. And the reason that's important, Ted, is if you have a 30 store group, you likely have a segment, an OEM for almost every single buyer across your family of dealerships. And so if we can think about our automotive world and the data that we sit on, and look, dealers sit on some significant first party data. Chances are that dealership's been around for decades. It was either generationally handed down or they bought it from someone's group that was generationally handed down. That data stays with that store. And that tells us a lot about that hyper local market, how frequently people are transacting in the ownership of their vehicle, where they're servicing their cars, or more importantly, where they're not, the inactive and lost folks, right, on the service side of the business. Yep. I would be, to get back to your question, I would be leaning in heavily on really understanding how to evolve my dealership to think about every customer from not a cost per unit sold or cost per unit service, but what's the lifetime customer value of that customer. And I would do everything I can to align the channels, the messaging, the connectivity, the personalization through communication to that person across where they are in the life cycle ownership, and not just segment it out on, hey, how about our new $9.99 oil change? Or, hey, we'd love to buy your car back, or OEM offers are going on, we can lower your monthly payment. Instead of having those all siloed out, let's have one conversation. Let's use the data. Let's use the tech that's available, not just at Force. There's competitors of ours that have similar data that can also bring tech at scale. Let's have one conversation with the client. The customer's already there. I believe they're waiting for us to meet them where they are.
And historically, this is something that dealers have not done, okay? And to look at that big picture, the way you're talking about it now, and what a great time to do it. And you're right, all that information is a wealth that's sitting in the DMS, and you can help a dealership or a dealership group, as you're saying, capitalize on that wealth, can you not?
We can, but this is what I'm gonna tell you, it's not easy. It's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. It is hard to break processes that have been around for a long time. It's hard to take that leap of faith and say, I know we can be better. I know the customer is challenging me to be better, but I know it takes a lot of work to get there. And and Bob's with me on this. If we can lean into the fact that, by the way, you want to think about all of the threats to auto right now. Okay. You lean into the lifetime customer value relationship, and all of those threats go away. Carvana can't compete with your relationship. Tesla can't compete with your relationship. There's not a threat in our space that can compete with a dealer's lifetime value. If they really lean into that, there is not a threat in our space that exists today, maybe 10, 15 years from now, but not today, in any of the current threats that get a lot of headlines across our industry. If the dealer group leans into proper use of their first party data and a true understanding of connecting the front to the back end of their dealership to one customer.
All right. So if I'm a dealer watching this, or a general manager or a fixed ops director who's been hearing about other dealerships in their 20 group and seeing dealerships who are starting to take advantage of this, how do I begin to lean into this? What do you recommend? Where do we start?
Well, it starts with their team, right? If first we've got to believe that it's possible, and we got to believe that we're willing to do it. And so I would say, get with your leadership team and let's really commit to change, to evolving, and then find the areas that are going to be easiest in the business to also evangelize that belief. And once you've got the belief set, then find the vendor partners that can help you bring that to life with the customer. But the reason, Ted, I go to the belief segment is this is not a checkbook remedy. This is not whip the checkbook out, write a check to a vendor partner, and you've got it fixed. This starts within the store. This starts with understanding the connectivity of the consumer at scale and what they're looking for and what keeps them 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now, and the communication channels that are important to them. And understanding how to respect those channels, respect the data they've granted you, and also be relevant and timely with their communication to earn their second, third, fourth, fifth purchase. And once you've got that belief set, I can promise you there's plenty of vendor partners that will help you bring that to life in the business. But it does start with the belief set and the ability to really lean into that with commitment and conviction.
So, John, at Force Marketing, I know the fixed ops community now is going to hear a whole lot more about Force Marketing in the near future and in the long term. And you've combined that with a great name, which has been around a long time. GSM has, got a great brand, and you are literally taking both of these now and merging them and giving the dealers the best possible solution, throughout that customer's life cycle. So I love the way that you're doing that.
Thank you.
All right, if I'm a dealer watching this right now and I want to learn more, how do I get a hold of John Fitzpatrick?
Give me a call. I've given you my personal email and my personal cell. That's the way we operate here. My leadership team, my entire organization operates that way. We're available to all of our dealers, current and prospective, at any time. We'll come in, we'll do an evaluation. No commitment necessary. We want to help them grow their business. That's our vision, is to transform, and this is the Transformers, right? But literally our vision, our mission statement on our one-page strategic plan at Force and our family of brands is to transform the dealer to customer ownership experience. That is literally our vision. And so it's timely that you've got the Transformer theme here. And then our brand promise: we execute marketing that moves your business forward. That's what we want to do. We want to sit down with them as the business owners there are, obviously stay focused in our marketing lane, but marketing spans across communication, across the entire organization. It's the third largest expense a dealership has, is their marketing and advertising budget. We want to lean in there. We think we can find efficiencies that can drop right to the bottom line. And we also know we can better the dealer to customer experience and really create a lifetime customer value metric that will live on through all of the current and hopefully down the road threats, if you will, to the business. And we've proven we can do that with some of the biggest brands out there, and we'd love to do that with any of your listeners.
John Fitzpatrick from GSM, now part of Force Marketing. We'll be hearing a whole lot more about Force Marketing and GSM moving forward. John, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, John. Great stuff. And folks, we're just getting started on day 2 of Transformers. A lot more is still ahead on the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Stay with us.
When it comes to automotive marketing, understanding the customer journey is key to the success of any marketing strategy. With Force's family of brands, you can now rely on one partner to deliver the right message to the right consumer during every stage of their car shopping, buying, and service journey. From the time a consumer begins consideration on brand, price, and dealer location, to the moment they consider their purchase or financing options, down to the communication after the sale through service and parts support. Force Marketing's rich portfolio of marketing solutions meet every customer at every stage of their process. Let's go further into how we do it. It starts with finding the right audiences and learning when and how to communicate with them. Our marketing automation platform, Helix, empowers our team and clients to visualize and identify exactly who their consumers are, where they are located, and most importantly, when the right time is to deliver a message. Once identifying a dealer's audience, our Drive brand dynamic retail inventory video engagement uses data, technology, and marketing automation to deliver personalized, highly targeted audio and video campaigns through multiple channels, including social media and display, as well as streaming media, CTV, and OTT. As we track consumers along their journeys, we are also able to recognize when a shopper may become lost or change consideration. Through our WeDrive brand, we deploy strategic, highly targeting campaigns through direct mail and email designed around taking those consumers from lost to captured through programs like Recapture. Once we capture the consumer and make them a customer, it's time to further support their journey through our GSM Fixed Ops marketing solutions. We help nurture customer relationships with retention programs that meet a dealership's service and parts goals. We are not just changing how to reach consumers through personalized messaging. We're changing the way consumers shop and then buy through timing and attention. We create shopping experiences that drive consumer actions at scale. We're experienced marketers with proven tech-enabled solutions aligned with one common promise. We execute marketing that drives your business forward. Let the power of Force's family of brands go to work for you. Force Marketing, We Drive, Helix, Drive, GSM.
I've heard it said there's a thin line between being a hero and being an auto industry transformer. Our next group of guests cover both bases. It's the Kimoby panel, followed by Kaylee Felio of PartsEdge.
Every day, your business communicates with leads, customers, and employees, but are you having trouble reaching them? Sending the right message to the right audience at the right time can be very challenging. With 97% of North American adults using text messaging, more and more businesses are turning their backs on traditional communication methods for a quicker and more effective solution. Business instant messaging, and it all starts with Kimoby. The system helps your business engage with target audiences through their preferred messaging channels. Kimoby enables you to get your message across, all while improving your business profitability and efficiency. Instant communication is made easy with Kimoby, which allows you to send simple messages, photos, videos, multimedia files, and secure payment requests. Your employees can collaborate and give a stellar customer experience by sharing conversations and adding internal notes. Kimoby automates your routine communication tasks. You can automatically send instant messages to an unlimited number of groups and people for appointment reminders and confirmations, online reviews, mobile payment requests, and more. Kimoby also allows you to personalize communications and better engage with your audience by targeting people based on their profiles, past purchases, and interests. To help your business improve its profitability and team's productivity, Kimoby offers comprehensive technical support, fast onboarding, easy training, tools, and a dedicated customer success manager to help you make the most out of the Kimoby experience. Are you ready to take communicating with people to a whole new level with business instant messaging? Then say hello to Kimoby.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And Ted, we're excited to welcome a new sponsor and a familiar face to moderate our next panel.
That's right, Gene, and we're excited to welcome our next guest and the host from Kimoby, Anastasia Jaleva. Anastasia, tell us a little bit about Kimoby.
Great. Thank you, Ted. Kimoby is an instant messaging platform developed for the auto industry. We're based in Canada, but we serve thousands of sites throughout Canada and the United States. Always keeping in mind the customer-centric approach and operational efficiency.
Anastasia, that's awesome. And we have a good friend, as I mentioned before, at the top of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, Tully Williams, the Fixed Ops Director of the Nilo Company, to moderate the panel. Tully, good to have you. And maybe you could introduce our panelists today.
I am so excited, Ted. We got ourselves a super panel. Our first up in Canada, Nunzio up there. We also have a great person from Canada, Jeff. And then, of course, Justin and Scott from the U.S. We are super excited about this panel today.
That's great. Okay, Tully, the show is yours.
Well, thank you, Ted, very much. It's an honor and privilege, and I'm super excited about this panel today. Texting to me is the next big thing, and it really should be the thing now. And just a personal experience here is that if I want to communicate with my children, I don't call, I don't email, I don't do anything but text. And guess what happens? We get those responses back today, that very minute. So we have 4 great speakers here talking about what's working at their stores today. Super excited from all the spectrum. And again, I just want to thank our hosts. It's a great product and great. Thank you so much for being here and helping us bring us all together. But first up, I haven't seen you at all, and we're excited from the Canada side. Nuzio, thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure I butchered your name, but tell us, what are you doing at your store that's making it so incredible?
Well, thanks, Tully. That's okay the way my name was pronounced. I've heard in many different variations, so all good. So basically, I come from a background of being a service advisor, and one thing customers always have an issue with is getting in contact with someone. And you know what? Phone, voicemail, leaving, back in the day when I was an advisor using paper notes, and now with, the texting, the Kimoby app, it's live right there. And like you said, you get that response right away, and you keep that customer engaged. At the same time, you don't have technicians waiting. Everybody's happy. At the same time, we've leveraged it on a basis basically from, with the COVID happening and less interaction with the customer. The Kimoby Pay has been a very, very, very amazing part of the texting tool. We've eliminated 2 cashiers. The best thing is when you go to a restaurant, your waiter serves you from appetizer to dessert. Why doesn't your advisor do the same thing from drop off to cashing out? So now the advisor does that all, and it's a less, invasive interaction where you have to go over, you go over the bill still, but a lot of the times is it just happens nice and smooth because they've already paid and they're on their way. So there's no waiting, no cashier, waiting or changing the tape in the machines. So we've leveraged that. Also with the texting campaigns, we've used a lot of our promotions from GM and send it out to our database, which has been a huge success for us. So all in all, when I was an advisor back then, I wish this tool was available back then, because who knows how many more hours per hour I could have included and how many more labor sales I got during the month. So.
And when you look at, you talked about uploading and doing campaigns. Why don't you briefly tell us what's been a real winner for you, or what campaigns are you running via that way?
So we're running a lot of our GM promotions, tire storage, tire swaps, which has been a really big one. And to say, any promotion that we have out, it being a discount off a filter or a free oil change. Same time too, we use it for our CSI index. So it automatically goes out to the customer, and when a bad experience does happen, it comes directly to me, so I will resolve it before it gets to that point.
And then this follow-up in the beginning, you talked about the bill pay, which to me is a humongous deal. You saw that you let some cashiers go, but is that really increased your efficiency? And 2, are you seeing better CSI since the service advisor is really the last person to talk to that customer?
Yeah. So unfortunately, seeing the cashiers go was not what we wanted to do, but at the same time, the visit, customers. I think they say the second worst thing going to is first is a dentist, and then second is a car dealer. So let's make sure that visit's quick. Everybody has busy lives, especially now with COVID. Last 2 years, so it's made everything very efficient and the customer experience, because they're not waiting as long as it was in the past.
Fantastic. And when you send the bill payout, are you sending out a copy of the invoice as well so they can pay before they come in, or what is your process that you have at your stores? Yeah,
so basically when the repair is done, they will get a Kimoby message stating that your vehicle is ready, and here's where you can pay online. They get a completed invoice. You get a response back from the Kimoby app stating that the invoice has been paid. Customer comes, and all we do is release the keys.
Isn't that just the best thing ever?
Yeah, It's an amazing tool. Amazing.
You know,
tool.
it's kind of like you go to pick up your car at the concierge desk is kind of what I see almost, right?
It's exactly what it is. It's it's an added service where, like I said, I wish it was available back then, but that's how we evolve with technology, right?
Wow, what a story. So thank you so much. Next up, our friends up in the north, Jeff, I hear you're doing some great things up there with Hunter and some integrations.
Yeah, for sure. But not only were we able to streamline a lot of our communications by using Kimoby, we were also able to, get some new sales out of it by partnering with Hunter Engineering and selling more alignments. So we put this really nice advanced Hunter tire tread check machine as well as alignment check machine in our service drive. And we were struggling to get that information over to our customers in a timely fashion. So we had Kimoby at the time. It was really streamlining all our other communication. Why not bring them in, try and partner them a little bit with Hunter Engineering and make this thing work and start selling some alignments. So we put the two together. They were able to make it work. And we now text alignment results to all customers as well as tread depths within 5 to 10 minutes of them showing up. So it worked brilliantly. I'm pleased to say that we've more than doubled our alignment sales since we've got this pairing going.
You know, when you talk about tire sales, as our good friend David Boyle talks about a lot, is that he believes, and I believe 100%, is tires are our defection point, and that drives that repeat referral business. What have you seen as an uptick for maybe your retention or selling those tires to keep people at your store versus having them drift off to a tire shop?
Well, yeah, I mean, everybody in this industry knows that if you control the tire business, you control the brakes business, you control the maintenance business, it all comes with it, right? So definitely, and a lot of the times, the first one to mention it is the one who sells it. So if these cars are passing through and you're not giving them tread depths or telling them what the status is of their tires, it's a missed opportunity. And a lot of us are guilty of that, especially if you're running express lanes or anything, you're moving cars in and out quick, you're not getting those results in the customer's hands. Retention can take a bit of a hit that way.
And when you went to that integration between Hunter, did you not have the ability to every customer not getting the results, or what were you seeing before you had that great integration?
Yeah, exactly. It was taking way too long. Sometimes we were having to give them the printouts on pickup, which is way too late. You're not going to sell it that day that way. And also it picked up the sales not only because we're getting the results faster, but the actual Hunter system itself categorizes everything in a nice color category. So you end up with yellow or red or green. These results in the customer's hand sells itself, because if they see something's wrong on their car, they want to fix it in most cases.
That is to me, that is such a huge win. You know, when we struggle for business and we struggle for that repeat referral business, I think that tire integration has got to be a massive home run for you.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. I'd love to hear that. Next up, back here in America, Justin, tell us about what's working at your store and what big successes you're having.
Utilization of the tool holds accountability on the customer and employee side of things. I think that's a great focus point on, of having something like this, being able to say, you aren't touching your customers fast enough, or, you aren't going into a conversation. Really, they're texting you, but we're not getting a lot of, conversation back and forth, and how you actually, whether it's on the phone, whether it's over a message, people can feel how, that comes across. Even reading stuff, kind of how that person is, the mood, and so on and so forth. So, making sure that your advisors are doing a good job keeping up their customers, updating them, your 10s and 2s and so on and so forth is a great ability. Ease of transaction. If you do, need to send over an estimate and somebody is able to, give you that approval. And then I've had times before where, a customer walks back in and we get to eat something in policy because I never said that. I didn't give you that approval to do all that maintenance. That $700 I'm not paying for. You now have that line of, transparency where you can say, well, right here in this message box, sir, you obviously said you were okay with it. Now, maybe there was, something that was miscommunicated, but you did give authorization for those things, and being able to have some accountability and a leg to stand on there for authorization purposes has been a really good thing for us. But yeah, so both sides of the spectrum, accountability, whether it's on the customers or the advisors, being able to track that and improve it in whatever spectrum or way has been nice. We have them in our Canada stores, and they seem to be doing very well for us.
That's fantastic. I'd love to hear that. All right, finally, Scott, my friend, what's working for your store, and how have you leveraged it the best?
Hi, Tully. Texting, I got to say, is one of the best things that has happened to the car business, honestly. I've been in the business for 42 years and seen a lot of changes, and this is one of the best things that's come along. It, just like Justin said, accountability, just the speed of being able to communicate with the customer, having documentation that you did communicate with them. We use it in just about every facet. We send a welcome text when we open an RO. We send a text when it's ready. We send a text with an estimate, the ability to send pictures, things like that. You get so much more bang for your buck with a visual. So, and then we do use a tire measurement system that sends a text. That's great. That's improved our tire sales, alignment sales, and our retaining customers. We've gone from about 57% retention to 74%, and I'm not going to stop there either, but it's made a big difference for sure. Tire sales are huge. Communication is huge. They want to be able to get a hold of you. They love the welcome text because we give them our information how to get a hold of us, and of course then they're instantly texting back and forth, and just really makes a huge difference.
I am impressed. 74% retention number jump up. I mean, that must have been just a massive win for you. I mean, that is huge.
Yeah. And
do you account all that ability too, because you think a lot of that is because of texting or easy to do business with?
I think a good part of it is, especially during COVID, the ability to send a request payment, just touchless, basically, hand them the keys when they get here and say, see you later. Thank you very much. But, that helped keeping us going during COVID. That helped a lot with that too, being able to communicate back and forth. And it's just so much quicker. You don't have to call and leave a voicemail and then they say they didn't get it. And, just like you said, I do it myself with my kids too. Boom, send a text, get a response. It works great. And we use it internally too, texting between the advisors, technicians, and whatnot.
Especially with the parts department, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly.
That's the biggest deal.
Yeah, it's a big one.
When you talk about all these great things that you're doing, I believe the hardest part with texting, and we still struggle with it a little bit, is training our best asset, our employees, on how to use the product well and how to say, "Wow, I wish I could have done that," right? And I'm looking for what made you implement that program at your store, and what was the success for your employees to say, wow, this is so cool and I can see the benefit from it? Jeff, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so giving them some time back in the day to think was one of the big things, because as a service advisor, you either have someone in front of you or someone calling your phone all day long. And to eliminate some of that phone traffic has been wonderful for them. And it allows them to go that little extra distance with the customers as well. So right out of the gate, streamlining communication was the biggest thing.
And did you get adoption quickly? It seems like, sometimes it's hard for people to change. That's the worst thing.
No, it just adopted right in. People took it as another communication channel. And I would say we use it equally as much as we use phones at this point, and people are all over it. So
that's fantastic. All right, I'm gonna try it again. Nunzo, how did you implement it at your store, and what made the successes for your employees and your team members to win?
Well, basically, when we were approached with it, we were looking into texting as an option, and we looked at a whole bunch of them, and I found the Kimoby one very user friendly, and like you said, everybody needs to adapt to change, and nobody likes to change. But the way the user friendliness of it was seamless, basically. So my staff also saw it as, we're investing money to make their job safer and more efficient. So, it was kind of a two-way street, and it was a good marriage, and it just never looked back.
That is incredible because, employees hate change, don't they?
Yes, agreed.
Fantastic. Scott, what made it work for your store? Get your employees on board? I'm just going to go back again. 74% retention rate up from 50. It's just I'm going to say it one more time, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a struggle here. Like you said, nobody likes change. Any advisor that's been doing it very long is just automatically reach for that phone. And, but, with some coaching and counseling, got them on board with it. And then once they started using it, then it's like, oh my gosh, why didn't I start using this sooner? It's so much easier. So mainly just get them invested in it. And once they see the benefits, they're all on board then.
Yeah, I agree. And finally, Justin, what was a big turnaround for your store to get your employees on board?
The ease of being able to go in and say, okay, Bill's off this week. I have to kind of help oversee his repair orders, and going in and being able to retro look at what they were discussing with another customer, and not, kind of being able to immediately go back to a point of reference to say, okay, I see this is what's been going on. This is the communication that's been had. I can move forward relatively easy, knowing conversations that were. You want some customers to have your phone number, but you don't want all your customers to have your phone number. So for the advisors to be able to have this ability without having to be worried about a customer calling their cell phone on a Saturday when they're, having a picnic with their kids is convenient as well. There's, like I said, some people don't know any boundaries, and this kind of sets that boundary to where we can have that closeness, but not, too intrusive on personal life.
I love that.
So those are two good, easies that I think have helped sway them to buy into the program.
Fantastic. And Anastasia, when you launch that at stores, how do you see employees adapt to your product on the ease of use?
Well, execution is the backbone for the success. So there are so many technologies, the great technologies that exist out there. But what makes us unique is really a question of making sure that we set up the integration right away, that it's working. We provide support, training to the staff, ongoing support, feature adoption, and once you make that decision that you want to be tech-centric at the dealership, we will make sure that your venture is a success.
I love that. And then the final question, which is probably the biggest question of all, is what was the results at your store? What was the impact at your store because we went to texting? I'll give you a little bit of what's happening at the Nilo company. Is that it took us time, as Scott said, it was a challenge to get us to switch to texting. We've been in business for 100 years. Things don't change tomorrow. But we've seen our texting go up because our customers are asking for that. And starting it out, as when the customer comes in, is texting the best way to get a hold of you today, and you should be getting a welcome text as they're sitting at the desk, is a great way to start it off. And we have seen great success because we start off that conversation. I also believe that at our store, our same day selling or same visit selling has risen at least 10% because of texting, because we are sending the videos, we're sending the text and the estimates that they can approve at your phone. So those results for us at texting have been tremendous. So I'm looking what really has been the greatest success for your stores. I'm going to start off with Scott because I'm going to say it one more time. Jumping from 50 to 70 is a big deal, but what's some concrete results that you've seen at your store?
Well, of course, the customer retention was huge, but with texting the tire measurements and stuff, that we've had a huge increase in alignments and tire sales. And just like you said, we had customers asking, can you just text that to me? And at first we didn't have the capability, and then we went out and got it and got on board with it, and it's been great. So it's like you said, same day sales, that's improved. Just all around improvement, and a reduction in the number of cases that was mentioned before where they say, I didn't approve that. Yeah. And then, you end up absorbing that for whatever reason, but that's eliminated a lot of that too. So
I would imagine, with Subaru customers that are very, very loyal to the brand, I would think that really goes hand in hand, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
All right, Justin, you talked about accountability, but I think that when you look at, what is the biggest impact to your store, one thing that we've had one of our service managers in our group, he used to go in to see if the estimate was sent within 30 to 40 minutes after the estimate came back. When you talk about accountability, the service providers were making sure they got their estimates out in a timely fashion, which I thought was a really home run. And he says, now I hardly send any out because we're kind of getting on that. But what are some of the great concrete results that you're seeing at your store because of texting?
You're in my head. I was, literally going to say unapplied time. How fast does my technician get that multi-point back in quarter time that I can correspond that information to that customer to where I can possibly get an approval before the car comes off the rack, right? Now that technician can stay in his bay. He doesn't have to pull the car off, go park it, have a smoke break, grab a Coke, all the things that play into how important our time is in the service centers, and making sure that, if I can get you back, turning that wrench, disassembling whatever it is that you need to, and I can get that authorization back to you before you even have the time to, look at the clock, that's, seamless transition, and I can keep you in the bay doing exactly what you're here to do, and that's turn wrenches.
It's interesting as you say that, is that going back to what we're seeing here is that we feel that the best car to work on for a technician is the car on the rack. And I think to your point, and what we measure is hours sold on recommendations. And that's the number we're trying to drive, making those quality recommendations that we'd sell to our family members, but really, did we actually sell them? And then really showing those results to the technician about the benefit of texting, the benefit of sending those pictures and videos to the customer results in hours on the rack on the same car. Worst thing a tech wants to do is drive it off, isn't it?
Yes,
absolutely.
Sir. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Nuzinzo, what are you seeing at your store? What are the concrete results that you've seen?
So basically, like I mentioned before, efficiency, right? It's an advisor who's efficient and throughout the day makes their job a lot easier. Same time, we get our technicians happy because it's a lot easier to get through the customer instead of, hey, guess what? I left a voicemail, and get on to the next job. And that's one of the things is productivity, right? The productivity has gone up. And you know what the customers are now who've had a few rounds of coming in and do the Kimoby pay, they actually looked for, hey, you're going to send me the online payment through. So, it's also a good customer satisfaction. Our customer satisfaction index has been the highest. It's been, we're rated out of 100. We're in the high 90s, in the mid 90s. So it's been a great success. And with our campaigns, going out, you can actually see now customers opening them instead of it going into their junk mail when you send an email. So,
and the results on the campaign, I mean, how has been your retention on that? What's the redemption rate on those? Can you share us any results on those campaigns via text?
I don't have exact results, but I sent one out for a tire promotion. It was about 1,500 customers. It went through, 900 of them got opened, and that month we had the highest inspection rates. So we're rated by GM, and I guess the goalpost of it is like around 45%, and we were at 41%.
That's great. So great success there, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Finally, Jeff, what are you seeing the concrete results? I mean, imagine with tire sales and the connection with Hunter. I mean, you must have seen some big numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to pick one good thing, but
I like them all.
We've integrated right from start to finish in all our transactions, and I think CSI plays a big factor. Also, with Hunter alignment machines and the integration with Kimoby, just keeping the customer informed throughout the day. So just that welcome message, that text 5 to 10 minutes after they come in about their tires and their alignment, they know that we're working on their car and we're getting to it efficiently. It almost gives the persona that the tech is already on it. And that has big value. And then all the way through to the end of the cycle too, with the Kimoby Pay and people being able to just come in and pick up their keys and away they go.
And when you look at the increase, like in tire sales, do you know what your increase has been, or do you have that number?
Yes. So it varies based on season. However, we've had the last 2 seasons, we've seen close to about 20 to 25% increase.
That's a big number, isn't it?
It's substantial when you're talking tires, certainly.
Wow. And finally, Anastasia, I mean, what do you see out there with when you install these things? What do you see the biggest lift for the store, or the biggest wow, the takeaway that a dealership sees when they really put the system into place?
I would say engagement rates, definitely. Texting, we can get up to 45% versus email, which is around 2%. So once they start using this communication channel, Jeff or Nunzio said, there is no way back. Customers adopt easy, and then they expect nothing but that communication channel.
It's incredible, isn't it? Well, I see Ted's back online. Ted, thank you so much. Wow. What an incredible panel we had, an incredible host, some great takeaways for texting. So again, Ted, thank you so much for the Fixed Ops Roundtable and this opportunity.
One thing that I really learned was how important integration is. And Anastasia, hearing about your integration and the training that Kimoby does, I think is so valuable. Real briefly, what are some of the integrations that you do typically when a dealer signs on with Kimoby?
So we are certified with 99% of the DMS systems that exist out there in the auto industry. So we support all of them, and also other partners like Hunter or Tire Profiles as well. On my end, the goal is to support the ecosystem that is built around the dealership to make sure that we're being efficient.
Great. And if there are dealers who are interested in reaching out to you, what's the best way to reach out to Kimoby?
You text me. So you do have an option of sending me an email, but I will provide my cell phone number as well, and it's 418-655-1473.
Fantastic. And everyone on the panel, thank you so much for joining us today. Nunzio, Scott Gregg, Justin Pomeroy, Jeff, and of course, Tully Williams and Anastasia. Thank you again for hosting this panel with Kimoby.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And we are discussing a topic now that has not in the past gotten a whole lot of love and has been underappreciated. It's the parts department. And with us today is our resident expert, Kaylee Felio, the sales and marketing manager for PartsEdge. Kaylee, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here and just talk about parts because it's so important. And it's actually, funny that we're focusing on fixed ops. Like that's a main focus right now. It's a hot topic, but I'm still seeing a lot of service and not a lot of parts. So it's great that we're talking about this today.
And parts makes up such a valuable part of the dealership's overall revenue and profitability, and having the right people in place and the right processes makes a huge difference. So let's get right into it. You and I have been discussing that right now parts operations are quite short-handed, and we've got the employees there wearing a lot of hats. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, even before the pandemic, parts managers wore a lot of fire hats. But I'm noticing with talking with parts managers more and more is that they're spread even thinner and they're wearing even more fire hats, and they're working the counter. They're just so they're working so many hours, and it's a person can only work so many hours for so long until they get burned out. And so it's so important that we give our operations these tools to help to do their job better and save them time, really is kind of the focus.
And, not just parts, but all departments, are shorthanded nowadays. They have a lack of employees and, training new members. Let's talk about a little bit specific to the parts department. What are some of the things that you're seeing and some of the things that dealers can do right now?
Yeah, so I'm seeing, again, the parts managers working the counter, they're shorthanded, they don't have a lot of people. And then I'm also seeing they're training new people too. So what they can do is really just outline the process and give them the systems and support they need to really train their employees, spend the time to focus on their customers and grow the business and keep up with that busyness that everyone's experiencing. So really just, again, giving them the tools and the support they need to really do better is what dealers should be focusing on. Specifically for parts, it's very important that the parts can support your service and again, don't burn out your parts managers and your parts people.
And you know what? I think a part of it, Kaylee, is that, parts doesn't get a lot of visibility, whereas new car sales and used car sales and F&I and service does. Parts is that thing in the back, or in the separate building in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And right now with, all that's happening in our industry with the chip shortage and also there's also parts shortages and back orders and managing and tracking that as well as claims. What advice do you have for our audience today on some of those things?
Yeah. So I'm finding that parts managers they're getting their deliveries or they're not even getting their deliveries. But when they do, there's shortages and they're having to submit claims and there's tracking of all the individual parts that they're missing. And that in itself is another job. And it's just adding to the plate of a parts manager. And you can just going back to, you can only expect someone to do so much. And you have to give them the tools to really, you can't put the inventory management on the back burner is the important thing here. We have to continue to focus and give the consistency to that DMS to really produce the inventory that you need for your market. So that's my advice for everyone.
And, the OEMs have guidelines and, this word compliance is a big thing. It's been a hot, a dominant motivator, especially in the last 5 or so years in our industry, and it continues to grow. And, if they're not optimizing their inventory, they can overstock, they can have too much of an item. And dealers are, it goes right to the bottom line because they're paying those costs. What do you think about that?
Yeah, the compliance and just giving the parts managers about going back to the tools and managing those guidelines and really making sure that they're not overstocking. But also one thing that when we speak with our parts managers, it's so important to identify your inventory as 2 separate inventories. Your guaranteed inventory, or in other words, protected inventory. So what the manufacturer is guaranteeing and what's not guaranteed, because you still have not guaranteed inventory that you have to manage. And that's where we need to focus on. And of course, you don't want to be overstocked and you got to maintain compliance with the manufacturer programs. But again, you still have those that inventory that is not guaranteed.
So let's talk a little bit about PartsEdge, because you've got your retail consumer, and then you've got a lot of dealers that historically did not want to get into the wholesale game because the margin is a lot smaller there, and they might have to stock more parts, bigger parts, inconvenient parts, things of that sort. I don't want to be too salesy here, but how does PartsEdge, how can you help a dealership with some of these things that we're discussing?
Really, we empower parts managers to focus on the aspects of their parts department.
Okay.
So we're not a replacement. We're not we're a tool and a resource for the parts managers to really just save them time and get their job done better and more efficiently. And really, it impacts the bottom line when we can get into a dealership and help a parts manager in saving them time and giving them the tools they need to really see their data and see what their true market demand is, and really just saving them time and making them more profitable.
And a lot of these electronic tools have been available now for a number of years, for example, in the used car department in terms of aging inventory, and on the new car side as well. We use some of these tools in the F&I department now in starting the process earlier. In fact, the F&I process in sales now is starting to move off the dealership showroom and into this online lane right now, where people can come in and do a lot of the transaction online. And we're starting to see that now in parts with e-commerce and stores and selling parts online. What kind of opportunities would a dealership miss if they're not, starting to get involved in that already?
Yeah, it's a great opportunity to start selling parts online. It's just another way to sell more parts, really. But with that that adds another thing to your parts manager's plate. So we want to make sure that, again, we're giving them the tools and the resources to manage the inventory effectively and stock what they really need to stock, and really price everything efficiently, and so that you're getting the most gross profit. And yeah, it's so important that we're selling parts online, because that's really where consumers look. If they're trying to fix it themselves, they look online to find parts. So.
And Lizette Gold from Google did a segment a few Fixed Ops Roundtables ago, and she told us what a big segment of the market that is, customers who want to do it yourself. So we got to look at that as well. And, you know, how can you help a dealer on the, you know, there's a lot of stuff we're discussing now, but again, on parts in terms of e-commerce and, you know, getting set up online, are those things that you would cover as well?
No, so we don't actually allow the ability to sell online, but we give the parts managers the more time to focus on those things. So all of these things that we're talking about is not leaving enough time for parts managers to be proactive. And that's what PartsEdge brings, is the ability for parts managers to be proactive and less reactive, because that tends to be what happens when you have a lot on your plate and you're just kind of running all over the place. So yeah, that's what we bring.
So let's talk about that. DMS, inventory management. You know, what are you seeing right now in the marketplace that some of the more progressive dealers are doing that others are not?
What I can say is what parts managers love about what we do, and the core of what we offer, is we have the ability to set up 50 to 100 sources. And with that, you can become more granular with the way you stock parts, the way you phase them out, the way you control your manufacturer program, your pricing. And the beauty of it is we have the automation to help maintain that for the parts managers. So it sounds like a lot and it's not simple, but it is when you have the automation. And without PartsEdge, parts managers can typically have about 30 sources or so. And with that, you still can produce a very efficient inventory, but we kind of take it to that next level and really just kind of maximize the DMS and get it to do what it needs to do.
And you've got access to a lot of dealers and a lot of information that a dealership typically wouldn't. Let's talk about that, and how you can make the parts manager's job easier and less stressful.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is we focus on parts every single day. That's our only focus. And we're talking to parts managers all over the country, small dealerships to the largest dealerships in the country. And the goal is always the same, really, just to grow the business, to give them the right tools, to really see what's going on in the inventory. So that, I mean, we're seeing a lot when it comes to parts managers, and just really giving them the information they need to maximize everything.
That parts manager, you're right, is pulled in a lot of different directions. And the whole department, as we've been talking about, has been underappreciated. Why do you suppose that we don't give the parts managers the tools they need? Is it just a lack of awareness? Is it just something that we assume is being handled properly and can't be any better? What do you think it is?
I think it's a mix. So I really think, so we're experiencing kind of a transition. A lot of people are retiring. And I think that over the years, we've kind of just, trusted and let them do their things, because the lack of knowledge and the kind of the, it's running, it's producing, let's just let the parts manager, do what they want to do. And really just, so it goes back to the knowledge and learning more about that department and giving them the tools they need. And then we have the new to the position parts managers. I think there's more awareness of, like, we can't just let them learn from the person that was kind of on their way out, or maybe they didn't get any training at all. We can't just let them run the most important, valuable investment. You have to give them the tools to learn and expand and understand inventory management.
Kaylee, this morning in his keynote, Dave Anderson, who speaks a lot about leadership in general, talked about I'll call it the grace period that a lot of leaders have in just, saying things are pretty good right now. I don't have to change a lot of things, but slowly but surely things are happening in different departments, and I'll call out the parts department as one of them as an area of opportunity. And it's not going to happen today, maybe not going to happen on Monday, but over a period of time, if that parts department is not looked at carefully in terms of things that we could be doing, that grace period is going to expire at some time. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, exactly. The grace period there is no grace period anymore. It's time to really invest in your guys' parts operations and your people, and giving them the tools that they need to keep up with your busyness of your operations, and really just looking at what's going on in your market and your operations. And really, that's the grace period's over. We need to start focusing and leveling up the operations.
Your company has a lot of experience in this arena. Tell us, if I'm a parts manager, a fixed ops director, general manager, how do I learn more about PartsEdge and what you can do for our dealership?
Yeah, so you can go to the website, you can talk to me, we can schedule a meeting. We have so much information on our website, ebooks, if you're just trying to get yourself educated. So definitely go to partsedge.com. That's the best way to learn more.
Kaylee, we see you everywhere now. So you're doing a great service for fixed operations, especially parts. And again, service can't succeed without parts. So they go hand in hand, and it's a big part of what the dealerships do. So thank you so much, for all you do for the fixed ops community.
Thank you. I'm very happy to spread the word about PartsEdge and just add more value and really just help people. That's really what I want to do. So.
All right, everybody. Kaylee Felio here today from PartsEdge at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Kaylee. It's always good to hear from you. And our next guest has led transformation in automotive for quite a while, Ted. And he promises to bring key insights into our business both now and for the future. Mike Maroney is next. Stay with us.
Obsessed with creating the perfect inventory? Us too. PartsEdge gives you the tools you need to outpace the competition and provide the highest level of service to your customers. PartsEdge is a powerful tool for parts managers to get the job done faster. Imagine what it was like when the impact wrench arrived. It made mechanics 3 times faster. Getting the job done without the latest technology makes it difficult to keep up. Besides all the other responsibilities you have, you work hard to have all the right parts you need when you need them. PartsEdge was designed by parts people for parts people to make that job a lot easier. PartsEdge saves you 4 to 6 hours every week and can increase your sales by 10 to 20% in just 12 months. Not bad for your bottom line. Take your obsession to perfection with PartsEdge. Call us today to find out what PartsEdge can do for you.